What is up, everyone? This is Axe0316.
What is up, everyone? This is Fizenteen.
We want to thank you for tuning into the first edition of Combat Chat. This is a little segment we're going to use to discuss something actually non-gaming related. We're going to discuss MMA, and we're going to talk about past fights that have happened, discuss those results, also talk about future fights, and give our predictions for those. So, Fizz, we're coming off a really, really interesting pay-per-view, UFC 134, that happened in Brazil, and it was aptly named because it was a great night for the Brazilians, don't you think?
Oh man, definitely Brazilians definitely kicked some tail.
Yeah,
Definitely did.
we have Big Nog defeated Brandon Shaw. Oh, by the way, there's going to be spoilers in this video in case anyone hasn't watched 134 yet.
Yeah.
We have Big Nog defeated Brandon Shaw, and he finished him in the first round. And I'm going to be honest, Fizz, I was kind of thinking that Nog was nearing the end of his career. Add to that the fact that Brandon Schaub had just knocked out Krokop. I thought Nog was going to be in for a pretty bad night, but he surprised me definitely by pulling off that win.
Oh, most definitely, dude. I mean, he just definitely brought his game to the table. I mean, of course, he trained hard and everything, and he just came out and he had one thing set on his mind, and that was to win. So, good job.
Definitely, he's one of those fighters that every time you count him out, he always he proves you wrong because I know Fizz. We've talked about that fight, and we all remember it when Nogueira fought Tim Sylvia for
Oh my
the
God, yeah.
yeah
That was a good fight, though.
that
Yeah, that
that
was a really good fight.
that was a great fight. In typical Nogueira fashion, he was just getting battered for two complete rounds. In the better part, I think that third round, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, he pulls out that just wicked guillotine choke. He's an ace on the ground, and he pulls that out of nowhere and just wins the fight. I remember his quote about that Tim Sylvia fight. He was holding the belt, and he said, "I played his game for 11 minutes. He played mine for 11 seconds, and look what happened."
Yeah, definitely, man. Anything can happen. You know, never put anybody out of the game, if you will, because they can make a comeback
Definitely,
at
and
any time.
definitely. And speaking of that, Shogun actually avenged his 2007 loss to Forrest Griffin in dramatic fashion, defeated him in under 2 minutes of round one by KO. And I'll admit that's another fight where I thought, after seeing Shogun get dismantled by John Jones, I was thinking, okay, maybe he's going to be messed with psychologically now. Of course, Forrest is no John Jones, but he's no slouch either. He had a win over Shogun, but congratulations to Shogun for getting in there and getting it done. He just took Forrest apart, and that surprised me, Fizz. What about you?
Oh man, definitely. I just think it like really pissed him off that he lost to Jones. You know what I mean? And he's just like, you know what? It's not going to happen again.
Yeah,
And what a great way to like redeem himself over Forrest Griffin because, like you said, he's no slouch or
right.
anything. Forrest Griffin, he's a pretty good fighter, man, and just Shogun coming out doing what he does best, and that's knocking people out.
Yeah, definitely. Like Shogun's like you said. I think he had something to prove. He wanted to let people know because he didn't just lose to John Jones. Like he got beat down for the better part of 3 rounds. Just got destroyed. And I think like you said, he wanted to send a message, especially in his native land of Brazil, to let all his fans know and his family had to be there, and just let people supporting know that he was still there. So, I think Shogun's a guy who I don't know if he'll ever have anything for John Jones, but he's still definitely in that top five in that division, no question.
Yeah, definitely. He still has his prime. We haven't, he's still up there, man. He hasn't lost it, so good job, Shogun.
Definitely, and of course, we have arguably the greatest mixed martial artist in the world, and arguably the best mixed martial artist of all time, Anderson Silva, avenging his most recent loss to Yushin Okami. We know that at Rumble on the Rock, he lost to Okami via DQ because he threw an illegal up kick because you could do that in Pride, but you couldn't do it in Rumble on the Rock, and he lost that fight via DQ, and even Okami had said that even though he won that fight, he didn't consider it a victory. He wanted to avenge it, but man, Anderson was just too much for him. It was incredible to watch.
Man, I don't, and like I was mentioning to you earlier, Ax, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Silva.
Right.
I mean, I want him to lose that belt because I'm just tired of seeing. Yeah, he's had it for how long now? What? I don't even remember how long he's had it.
A
He's
very
had
long
it that
time.
long that I have Alzheimer's over. I can't even remember. okay? And I'm tired of seeing him with that daggone belt. So, I want somebody to come in there and just like bash his face in because he's so cocky because he knows in the middleweight division nobody can beat him. Nobody. So I'm looking for a new timer to come in. If he's new and everything, I don't give a damn. I'll cheer him on. I'm like, yes, drop kick him in the face, do something. I don't care. you know, but overall he got the job done. So, grats to Silva.
Yeah, it was just incredible to watch. Like, I mean, just to see. I mean, he drops people with jabs. Like you're not supposed to be able to drop people with jabs. But I mean, he just goes in and like I read an article earlier today, and it said that fighters aren't supposed to drop people with jabs. They're not supposed to stand in front of world-class fighters with their hands down and their chin up and still win the fight. But he does. And like you said, I think at this point, like you said, he kind of knows that he's head and shoulders above everyone else in that middleweight division. With the exception of Chael Sonnen, no one has ever in that division really been able to give Anderson, a really good fight. I mean, Luter got him down, but he beat Luter at Luter's specialty, and
Definitely.
Chell gave him a fight. But at the same time, it's like no one in that division. But here's where things get interesting, because at 135 we have, as we were talking about, UFC light heavyweight champion John Jones, who is I don't think anybody can deny the guy is top 10 in the world right now, pound for pound. He's just an incredible fighter. He's young, he's well rounded, and he's taking on, but he's got a stiff challenge because he's taking on Quentin Rampage Jackson, and Fez, I think that's gonna be that's gonna be a great fight. I can't wait for that.
Definitely. I don't even care if I have to beg my boss to let me off work or whatever. I don't care if I have to come crash at your house, but I definitely want to catch that one because me personally, uh, I like Rampage. He's pretty awesome and everything, and I'm rooting for Rampage. But we'll just have to see, man. It's gonna be a great fight. So
Definitely, I think my pick, honestly, I'm gonna have to take Jones on this one because through watching their past fights, what I've seen from Jones is he has a well-rounded game. We've seen the takedowns and the throws, and we've seen him throw guys around like Brandon Vera and Matt Hamill. Those guys don't usually get thrown around. You know what I mean?
oh, definitely. And the only reason uh, I'm going for Rampage because Rampage had, ever since he did the 18 movie
Yeah,
and whatnot, which, hey, it was pretty good.
yeah, it was a good movie.
Never did expect, MMA fighter to go in and, do his thing like he did, so he did pretty good. But I think ever since he took that time off, if you will, he's been complaining that, he got, I guess a little ring rust or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
He pronounced that, so I feel bad for him. Past couple fights, he hasn't really done anything. So, and Rampage, as we all know, in the past, he's been great. He's took down some awesome people
yeah. Former
and
champion.
everything. Yo, definitely, and I just waiting to see his comeback. So that's the reason why I'm kind of going with Rampage. It's just kind of like a little support, like, hey man, you can do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, like you said, he has had a rough way because the fight with Machida, he got the nod, he got the decision, but a lot of people thought he lost that fight. So I think even though this is a championship match, he still has something to prove. But still, the only beef I have with Rampage is, like I was talking about Jones, he has the wrestling, he has the takedowns, he has submissions, and he's got great striking. With Rampage, the only thing I'd like to see out of him is I would like to see him expand his game a little more. Instead of just standing flat-footed and just throwing punches, let's see him throw some kicks or do some takedowns because that's a guy that if when he's look what he did to Chuck back in the day. Chuck was known as unstoppable, and Rampage took him out in the first round.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, if he used, of course, he has a good stand up. But I think if he added, of course, like the ground game to him, he'd be awesome. I
Yeah,
think he'd, start winning more. I think, he'd have more confidence in himself. I mean, I
definitely.
think it'd be doing really well. Just add some ground game. You just can't stand up in, you know, mixed martial arts fight, especially when somebody knows, jujitsu or, something like that, and just expect to, hey, I'm going to just stand here. I'm going to knock you out. No, it's not going to happen, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's about being well-rounded. And also on that same card, we're gonna have the legendary Matt Hughes versus Diego Sanchez. And to be honest, Fizz, this is a fight. I don't know which way to go on this fight because with Hughes, it looked like he was making a comeback after he choked out Almeida and all this stuff, but then he loses to, the third fight to BJ Penn, he loses it in just, a matter of seconds. So, I mean, I don't know about that. And then Diego Sanchez, of course, he was on a pretty good streak when he dropped to the lightweight. Then BJ Penn got a hold of him as well, and Diego went back up to 170, and he's been having kind of a rough start there. So to be honest with you, Fizz, I'm not too sure who I'm going to take on that one.
Well, I will. I'll be glad to. And Matt Hughes, great fighter. Everything, back in the '90s, he was great. And then till up to the early 2000s, then all of a sudden, man, he just, I don't know. He just, and I will say this.
He ran into.
I mean, not to down him or anything. He's a great fighter, but his game has kind of slacked here the past couple of years.
Plus, the entire welterweight division ran into a brick wall named George St. Pierre.
Then George St. Pierre just comes in and blows it up. So, yeah. And but I would say Sanchez for the win, man. Probably KO, maybe in the second round.
Yeah.
So
Sanchez, like you said, he's a guy that. Looking back, I think the changing weight affected Sanchez in his last fight. So, like you said, maybe he'll come in stronger here, and we'll see. But speaking of we were talking about how Hughes had his fights with St. Pierre and like the trilogy and all that stuff. Speaking of trilogies, we have, and at UFC 136, we're gonna have the rematch of the rematch. Frankie Edgar, the UFC lightweight champion, the man who beat BJ Penn not once but twice, facing the only man to ever beat him and the only man to ever take him to a draw, Gray Maynard. And, Fizz, I'm a huge Edgar fan, huge fan of Frankie Edgar, but I gotta say, I think this time Gray's gonna get him because he beat him first, and the second fight, he came, just so close to finishing him, and then it was still a draw. So I honestly think that just for me, the odds say that Gray's gonna get him this time.
And, I have to agree with you because it's kind of like, he wants some redemption, if you will, some revenge, and I think he's finally going to get it, man.
Yeah, it's one of those fights that the guys that they're so evenly matched because Edgar, he brought his A game. That was the heart of a champion because I know we watched when Gray just hit him with that huge punch and just sent Edgar flying end over end, and I thought that was the fight right there, but somehow he managed to recover and get his wits about him and just stay in there. But in my opinion, Gray's going to take the third fight and just take the title.
Yeah, definitely. It's his time, man. It's his time.
Definitely. And also on that same card, we have the featherweight champion, and I cannot wait for this fight. The featherweight champion, Jose Aldo. Some people call him Anderson Silva Jr. because he's a small guy, but he just takes guys apart. And he's facing a man who is making his debut at featherweight, Kenny Florian. And that fight has got Fight of the Night written all over it.
I think Kenny. I'm going with him.
You think?
Yeah, man. I don't know. I like him.
Yeah.
I like him.
I'm gonna agree. I think Kenny has he's got the well-rounded game that I think a lot of Aldo's last opponents have lacked. I'm not trying to crack on Aldo's past opponents, but I think, to be honest, they were maybe a little bit intimidated by Jose Aldo's aura. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely, dude.
Definitely. That he was this invincible guy, but you got a guy like Kenny Florian. This is the fourth weight class Kenny Florian has fought in. He's fought in the UFC. He's fought a who's who of competition. He fought BJ Penn. He lost that fight, but still, he was in there against a world-class fighter like BJ Penn. I don't think he's going to be intimidated by Aldo, and Florian comes from a great camp. He's a very intelligent fighter, so I think we're taking a risk on this, Fizz, but, we got to go with Florian on this one.
Yeah, definitely. I am all in.
And then, of course, we, you can't do an MMA video without talking about Chael Sonnen. He's always got something to say, and he's taking on the American hero, if you will, Brian Stann. And that's a fight, Stann put on a great showing against Chris Lieben, knocked out Chris, and that was just, I didn't expect that, to be honest, but to be honest, I think Chael's going to take this fight because Chael probably has the best wrestling in MMA outside of, GSP. But Brian Stann, he's a tough guy, he hits hard, tough as nails. But I'm gonna have to go with Chael in this fight.